Hello, Fairfield. Once again, you are watching another exciting episode of Fairfield 2.0, as in Take Two 2.0 today. Let's start on this end with all of our guests. We have a lot of guests today, so hang in there. We have a Skype interview also, and we have Josie Overmyer and David Seagull who'll be joining us later. But first, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our panel here, which would be Harvey Lubar. Hi. Hi. Welcome to Fairfield 2.0. We have Jonathan Fotis.
Hello.
Welcome to hello and welcome to
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you. And we have once again, well, since this is take two, we have Ms. Tiffany.
Well done.
Tiffany Rains.
Yes.
And Tiffany Rains is no relation to Ed Rains
Whatsoever.
which is perfectly fine. You know, I mean, what are you going to do? And all of these lovely guests, all these lovely green guests. And food. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should start with Harvey. Harvey, what are you doing here? Why are you
I
in
ask
Fairfield?
myself that every day. No.
What are you doing in Fairfield? What are you doing here?
My wife and I are empty nesters, and we made a decision to move back to Fairfield again. We lived here in 1999. Our son attended MSAE for a while. I got
Your son Ian.
Ian, yes. And I got a job offer that was too good to refuse. And so I left for a while. Now I'm back and just enjoying Fairfield and being in a quieter environment.
A quieter environment. And this is like your fourth time back
It's
here, right?
my fourth time.
It's dyeing the cloth. It's going
Exactly.
back. Okay, fine.
Rest in activity.
Exactly. Are you this time around you've got your fingers in a few different pies. You've been a dean and you've been, I don't even know where to start with you. Lately you've been working on a book.
Yes.
Okay. But you were like a dean of students, you were all sorts of things. What is your relationship with this education thing? And will it catch on?
This education thing. I have a master's degree in teaching methodology.
Okay.
Which is very specific within just a master's degree in education. So I'm usually the person who teaches teachers how to teach. I'm the person who, when they have lost the ability to get in front of a classroom and maintain their students' attention, how to get that back, how to motivate students. That is really my area of specialization. So
how do you do that?
For some people, it's really difficult. For some people, it's easy. I've had a lot of people, especially college faculty around the United States, that I've taught, and the first thing I tell them to do is take an acting class. Because they're not truly comfortable, and they're not themselves in front of a group.
Right.
And how can,
I could use some
kids,
everybody, I think, can have some like...
rather than saying kids, students can tell right away how comfortable somebody is.
Right.
And that affects their credibility in front of the classroom.
Yeah.
So if they feel comfortable and they can feel free walking up and down an aisle and just talking, and they can handle any situation spontaneously, it just gives them much more credibility, and then the knowledge, whatever it is, just flows easier and quicker.
It's always been a mystery to me as far as people going into education or teaching who are uncomfortable with kids, students. It seems like that would be the number one priority for going into teaching, although people go thinking, I guess, that they're going to learn to do it or they're going to get more appreciative or involved or whatever. But I think what you said is really valid. It's like if you get any kind of courses under your belt, whether it be acting or maybe some sort of, or what is it, Toastmasters or things like that, just anything that gets you out there to be able to be yourself in front of a group of people and deliver whatever the information is, which in this case is whatever the course is, right?
Right. Well, I worked for Heald College as the Dean of Technology Programs. Okay. So I was responsible for everything from degrees in electronics to degrees in Microsoft and Cisco networking. Our students ranged in anything from traditional college age to people that were coming back to school who'd been in computers or electronics or electrical engineers for 15 years and wanted to get their skill set raised to the 21st century.
Right.
And so you have a wide range of people who are everywhere from I already know everything to I know nothing. And then you have a teacher who's like hummina, 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 hummina.
Right.
And so my job would be to go in and to get it working.
Do you find yourself learning? Like, does the teacher become the student in a lot of these cases because you've got to know the information maybe to whatever degree, at least to be able to give it back to the person you're teaching the teaching method to? In other words, are you learning on the job yourself during this whole thing?
You have to be, because the biggest question, especially in technology, you're going to hear from the students is, what if? And they're not talking theoretical, they're talking things that happen at their job that day. So if they're working for Intel and they're in one of those bunny suits and something were to happen, for those of you that don't know what a bunny suit is, they look like...
Bunny suits.
Bunny suits, yeah, they got the big ears. And no, they look like spacesuits. Yeah. And something happened on the job. Well, just like they are expected to be able to know an answer, a lot of times you're not going to be able to say, you know what, I'll get back to you next week. On the other hand, you don't want to say to the students, I think it's this. Because if you don't know the answer, you just say, I don't know, that's a great question. We'll all look it up and do it next week. But you want to be able to go in being a master of the subject.
Right.
And in technology, not only does the technology change all the time, but just when you think you've got it down, you'll have a problem come up that you'll have never experienced before. Mm-hmm. So you're trying to create a set of critical thinking mindsets for the students that they can learn to think and troubleshoot on their own.
Nice. Have your students over the years, I mean, I guess a lot of them have benefited from whatever your education to them has been. Have they responded over the years and kept in touch and said, hey, that was really a cool thing that, you know?
One of the things that I teach the teachers is to create a sense of giving back.
Nice.
So what I tell the students is,
nice.
When you graduate, you're going to have a good job because you have a skill that people kill for.
Yeah.
But I expect you to come into this class in 18 months to 2 years and inspire my class, because they get tired of hearing me say it every week.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, when I have students coming back, and it's not Dean Lubar, and they walk in and they go, I'm making $110,000 a year and I got 5 weeks vacation. Suddenly their eyes open up and they see the world a different way.
Nice.
And then I tell them, 2 years from now, you're coming back. And it creates a situation where they learn giving back is more than just to the school and to the next generation of students. It's part of their life.
Nice. Do you mind if I get on the soapbox for a moment or two?
Soap away.
Do you guys mind if I get on the soapbox?
Not at all.
That seems to be the one thing that is missing. I think that in a lot of my favorite teachers and favorite people in my life are the people that I've interacted with, and I felt like I'm getting something back from. And it seems that it's almost a missing. It's almost leaving the culture. It's almost a culture of. No, this is too broad a way to put this, but to me, I've had so much experience with maybe giving to, which I don't mind, and I like the experience, and I care enough for the people that I'm giving, like whether it be information or you know, contacts or whatever the thing is. I don't mind. I'm not expecting anything back. But why am I surprised when somebody wants to do something back? That's what I think is the problem. It's like there is not a natural cycle of that. Maybe it's taught in school, maybe it's taught in the home. I don't know where that's taught, but what you said makes total sense. Where I was going with what I said before is that the people who are my favorite people are the people that understand the cycle and just do it naturally. I don't even have to think about it. And yet I'm surprised by it. It seems like it's a fundamental. And I don't know where, like I said, I don't know where it gets taught. Does it get taught to the kid in school, or does it get taught to the kid at home? I don't want to say who's to blame for us not having it as heavy, but it does seem there's a lot of entitlement or expectations or whatever, so that it doesn't seem like there's any kind of...
Well, not to give away the book.
The book?
The book that I'm writing.
No, not the book.
The book. And the book is about creating a culture of honor in the classroom.
Beautiful.
And
Excellent.
one of the things I say when I was teaching at the school was, how many of you have jobs now? And I would say, the course was 9 months. And I would say, by the time this class graduates, those of you that have a job have to get one person in this class a job where you work.
Yes, there you go.
Everybody rolls their eyes, and it's like, I just thought I would be doing homework. And it's like, no, that's the easy part. The other part is trying to care for other people.
You know, and that gets dismissed so easily as like it gets thrown into this like, oh, that's socialism or something like that, and it's like, shouldn't that be like taught in the churches or taught in the whatever? It's like
being neighborly.
It's being neighborly. It's just it's a basic.
Yeah, you don't have to turn it into this big political thing.
Exactly.
If somebody's qualified and there's an opening, you say, hey, you know.
It's
Come
just,
on.
yeah, no,
The
you're from
water's
New York
warm.
and I'm from New York. And I do have that kind of mentality. It's just a natural thing. And I don't really even think that was taught to me. It just seemed like that was the culture maybe of of my youth or something. I don't know what, but but it is a little bit sad where it's sort of like the whole ends justify the means thing it's gotten meaner. And it is unfortunate. Okay, off the soapbox right now, and on to. I'm really happy you said that. Thank you for stimulating the conversation. And the book. When you have the book, you have to come back. We have to talk about the book.
I'd love to.
All right. Now on to Jonathan Fotis and Ms. Rains. Tiffany and Jonathan. All right, I have food in front of me, which is a very dangerous thing, because this will not make it till the end of the show.
This is food too.
Various forms.
Even though it doesn't look like pizza.
No, this smells like, but this has all the right aromas, as far as garlic. So maybe onto this first.
Got garlic chives. Well, there we go.
Nice.
Put that in a little bit.
Nice. In fact, I may hold.
We're going to need to start doing some sampling here pretty soon.
We will.
Help yourself.
Let's get into this. This is, I don't know where to start. You are from the New Bounty Foods Company, right?
Yes, I'm the owner of New Bounty Foods here in Fairfield. The New Bounty's been around for 10, 12 years or so through various owners. I took it over in November of 2011, and it had been off the shelves for a few months. So we brought it back. I brought in some, the classic recipes that
We're from your history or home or whatever, right?
We're from the classic New Bounty recipes that were
okay.
town favorites, like the hummuses and the soups and things. And then I brought in a couple of my own recipes, like the vegetarian chili, which has been going well.
Was this one of the Mighty Bites? Was this one of yours?
Mighty Bites was actually a recipe my mother came up with when myself and my sister were little kids. And we had just, we ate well as kids, but we had, integrated socially and became aware of junk food.
What?
Yeah, so so she wanted to come up with a recipe that was healthy and delicious, that in snack form. And that's pretty much the original recipe. It hasn't really been modified. It's got
Close up.
close up. It's got
Be gone. You're not going to be able to scan this,
Yeah, so those have roasted almond butter, granola, nuts, grains, seeds, the whole deal.
May we try one right now?
Go for it.
Oh, God.
You couldn't
I've
wait
been
any
waiting for this.
longer.
I couldn't. Here,
I'm happy
please.
for you.
Can everybody have a taste here?
Thank you.
So, what I want to ask you is, no, these are wonderful. These are just so
Oh my
delicious.
God.
Isn't that right? I had a my God reaction the first time I tasted
That's pretty much everyone's reaction. They're not expecting what's about to happen.
Yeah, this
it. With New Bounty, what is your goal? To have New Bounty in every home in Fairfield, I'm imagining, right?
That's a start. Every home in America would be great. We'd love to take these national.
Mighty
Excellent.
Bite
example.
Empire.
Excellent. Have you, with those, to that thought, have you done all those, like the mandatory websites, the app? Do you have your app yet?
Not yet. Mighty Bites app.
Mighty Bites app.
Track the last time you had one. Are you due for another one yet?
Yeah.
Little timer goes off.
You're gonna find a lot of people going, I need another, man. You're gonna tell me where to get these. And they'll run over to everybody's and they'll be sold out. And it's like, I got to get through tomorrow. These are really tasty recipes. And I wanted to ask you, what are your favorites? What are some of your favorites that you'd like to spread the word on?
The Mighty Bites are definitely one of the favorites. Our salsa is one of my favorites. All of our hummus, we have 6 different kinds of hummus.
Cool.
I think the Parmesan pepper hummus is my personal favorite.
Oh,
It's pretty good.
that's okay. You brought garlic. I'm happy. I'm still happy. All right. What else what other kinds of things are you selling, New Bounty? In other words, if you were to go down the pamphlet or something, what other kinds of things? I don't want to leave anything out, is my point.
Yeah, our most popular items are probably our hummus and our pesto. We make fresh pesto.
Oh, right.
And coming up this summer, little guys like this, we're going to be making all our pesto from all our own basil.
All right, on to that subject.
Yes.
First of all, can you introduce our guests? Our other guests?
Yeah. We brought a little sampling from our kitchen. We have an indoor growing setup currently. They're under compact fluorescent lights. We've been using mylar, which is kind of like a reflective dome over them to bounce the light off. And we've been growing these guys since February. They are pretty much ready to be planted. You're going to see as we introduce them, we've got some pretty impatient root systems growing here. They're ready to go in the ground. Yeah, we brought a range. For example, this is a organic heirloom kale variety. It's grown to be stout and pretty prolific. This is going to go in the Fotis soup. We brought some of our little cilantro plants.
Beautiful.
These are going to go in the salsa. Nice. We have a few herbs going just for fun. We've got some thyme and oregano. Everything is organic seed, organic growing
Yes, this
medium.
side spoke to me because of my heritage.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mediterranean reason.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Yeah.
What about? I'm noticing some are more farther along maybe than others. What is?
Right. And actually, that's funny that you brought that up. We have two different types of peppers. This is a California Wonder that we probably started too early. So I was feeling pretty impatient, spring fever, back in January. I got to get going. So we've got some flowering guys going over here. We're going to have some peppers probably before they reach the ground. And then we had a second round, just in case they wind up retiring before we get them where they need to go. We have a second round going at a kind of a slower pace. And then we have a couple different heirloom tomato varieties going. This is a Mortgage Lifter and a Rutgers. These produce big, like pound, 2 pound size, massive tomatoes. These have like little tiny bunches. And then I also brought, just to give some ideas of some other things that are kind of important to us, this is a cornflower. And it's just about to pop. We've got some little buds here. It's going to flower any day now. This is wonderful for attracting bees. So we're doing this. We're kind of establishing our garden.
I'm scared of bees.
You're scared of bees?
I'm scared of bees.
But we need bees.
But we like bees, right?
We really like bees. We
All right,
appreciate
fine.
them. I think you're probably familiar with colony collapse disorder. We've got
yes.
And so
So you're trying to repopulate. You're trying to bring back the bee.
we're never going to be able to bring back the bee, but as a gardener, I feel like it's our responsibility to grow things that will attract them, keep them happy.
To keep the eco balance the way it's supposed to
Absolutely,
be.
especially in Iowa, we've got so many pesticides being sprayed in the cornfields and everything. It's kind of the least we can do to provide some organic plants for them.
Can I ask you, just as
Yes.
a sidebar,
Yes.
for my own education, you mentioned with Iowa and we have a lot of pesticides, et cetera. Are we getting more conscious about that as a state, or are we fighting a little uphill right now?
Fighting a little bit uphill. Fairfield is a wonderful place due to the sustainable living developments that we have.
Right.
Community-wise, we're really making a great deal of progress.
Nice.
As far as the state and the region, it's hard to say. We're still seeing Monsanto, for example, creating a monopoly with the pesticides and the corn, and there's this mutual dependence that they're creating on their chemicals and their genetically modified crops. So across the board, I think that we both feel a sense of responsibility for getting back to the roots, getting back to the heirloom varieties, the organic varieties.
Nice. And this is where you will, with New Bounty, these are going to be your future ingredients. These
Precisely.
Nice.
This is just a small sampling of what we have. We've got rows and rows of these now.
Yeah.
And a huge plot set up for when we're actually able to move them outside.
Yes, this is basil, more that I started too early, getting super impatient. So we've been pinching them off to develop bushiness. So the big leaves, we've already taken off. Yeah, so we've got these little heads here. We're going to let you pinch and sample here pretty soon. I think you're going to look forward to it. What else do we have? Oh yeah, as far as just organic gardening methods, in addition to bringing in the pollinators, this is a borage here, which is going to be another blue flower. Bees love blue flowers. So these two are going to bring in the pollinators. And then we also have natural repellents. For example, this is an Empress of India nasturtium. It's got very spicy leaves and future flowers. You can pluck and try this later too if you want. It's perfectly edible. Nematodes and other mites and small insects will gravitate towards these guys actually as the season progresses and leave the tomatoes alone. So they're going to be little diversion tactics, so to speak. So we don't have to spray our plants with pesticides. We're trying to come up with other methods. We've got garlic chives for the same reason. We're growing tons of these. So we're just going to have these are little defense mechanisms. Because
garlic chives, really?
Various pests really dislike chives, even bunnies and cats and things of that nature. We love the smell. You can kind of smell that.
Yeah, smells good in
that
here right now.
garlicky goodness.
I have a dog who used to. I had a dog rather who used to live on that stuff. Not
you're
that.
kidding.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
just-
loved chives and loved. Oh yeah, he used to come in the
Really?
house with like the bulbs hanging from his mouth. It was really funny. And other times also
Wow.
deer, but we won't talk about that. But this is really an amazing. This is amazing.
It is. Our biggest challenge right now, just quickly wrap up, we are pretty much expanding in the back of the Natel building, which is where the commercial kitchen is. So we've been looking into raised beds. There's not a lot of good earth back there to put all of these guys. So we decided to look into container gardening and various options. What we wound up coming up with, this is a polypropylene bag made of recycled materials. It's breathable. Air can get through it. We've been doing research on grow bags. So we're actually going to be able to put about 1.5 cubic feet of dirt inside of this and then plant our plants within them. So we have some beds set up, but we're going to pretty much we've got about 250 of these in various colors. Wow. Yeah, it seems kind of crazy, but we're hoping it's going to work well.
Wow.
Based on our research, it should be successful.
That's nice. And so even though you have this particular area, you can you could expand wherever you want.
We can move them whenever we want to.
Wow.
Yep.
That's amazing. And there's no damage, there's no traumatic damage that happens to the plants when they're getting moved in this kind of configuration because they contain their earth, their home. Their home is with them at all times.
Their home is with them at all times. And the nice thing about the aeration, the roots really prefer to be in a place where they can sense oxygen, whereas like a plastic or a clay pot, they start to get root bound, they circle the periphery, they get a little overwhelmed. This creates a self-pruning mechanism, where as they sense the oxygen, they just stop and they make use of their area, and the added oxygen flow helps to increase yield, keep the plants healthy. So we hope it works out. It's kind of an experiment. We've only read about it. We haven't really tried it. We've got a couple kale in one of the bags now. And then once the weather hopefully soon warms up, we'll get everybody outside.
I totally wish you luck with this. This is an amazing, it's really great for this.
We're totally excited, totally proud of it. And people can keep track of us and what we're doing and how our progress is going on our Facebook page.
Which is?
Facebook.com/newbountyfoods. And we'll be updating, and people can comment and interact and just follow how we're doing and how things are going.
Harvey, have I forgotten anything that I need to be talking about?
You were going to pay me to be here?
All right, here we go.
Can I just throw one last thing in?
Yes. And also, right, if somebody wants to contact you to be a dean of their college, how does one?
I'm quite happy doing the book.
About the book.
One thing I also had the students do. So normally in a class, you got about 50% of the students are kind of in the middle. 25% are doing less than what they should be doing in terms of grades, and 25% are doing pretty good. It's called the bell curve. Right. I took the smartest, sharpest ones and the ones who were having difficulty, put them together, and I said to the ones who were doing really well, next week you get their test grade. Instant tutoring.
Yeah.
And it works. Right. The first couple of times they complain, oh man, what if they get a D? And I go, well, guess what? Make sure they don't get a D.
What is the age range that we're talking about here?
In that case, it was anywhere from 19 to 45. Yeah. But a lot of the principals that work in adult education also work in elementary, junior high, and high school.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah.
K through 12. Yeah. People underestimate how sharp kids are.
Oh, no, not this guy.
Yeah,
no.
People think you can't put something over, even on the first graders. They know more than they let on, and they know what the story is.
Yeah. What's amazing is I've never been a parent, although I've been, because of relationships and et cetera, I've had children in the home. Mm-hmm. But I'm always amazed at how, in some respects, I feel like that kid knows more than me already. Look at all the tools. I mean, especially now, more than ever. I've always felt that generation after generation, we're getting smarter and smarter. I do feel like that. I feel on some levels. I mean, I feel like some of the social stuff is going away, but what's happening is it's being traded in for, I guess, more intellectual understanding and more grasp of some things that we naturally weren't gravitating towards at the time. And now having taken the Fred Travis course, I'm totally aware of myelination, and I know how the hormones affect it. Now I have more of an overall look at a child development into young adulthood. And the one thing that And I'll tell you, I really do honestly feel like because they're so natural at stuff that we find, we meaning my age group, maybe your age group, where we resist some things or some things which aren't natural to us, they get in a second. They're already there. They're already there. They already know more about that computer, including writing code if they had to, than I am. And I applaud that. I think that's amazing, and I guess that's...
Just to bring the food in with education. When I taught second and third grade in the South Bronx, do you know what breakfast is in the South Bronx? Doritos and a Coke for breakfast. Wow. So they're bouncing off the walls by the time they walk into the classroom. If they had healthy food and a concept of how to take care of themselves, or at least to teach the parents what good nutrition is for the kids, teaching would be...
That secret is Mighty Bites.
I know, it's all Mighty Bites.
The teaching would be, I'll cut you off.
It would make such a difference. It would take me sometimes an hour to get the class to calm down enough, just enough to start a lesson.
Yeah.
And so this is what America's facing.
Yeah. Well, beyond the whole consciousness thing, if you want to go into it's all about stress and all that. What you're seeing in a lot of the classroom situations is sort of the exact opposite of how you should be educating. I mean, we've heard that a lot. But in addition to that, diet. It seems like where can you, even if you don't believe any of that other stuff, because it's all philosophical or something, start with a diet. We know for sure sugar has certain effects. Start with prenatal. Yeah.
I know principals who had third-generation crack babies.
Yeah.
It's frightening.
Wow.
And each generation is more dysfunctional.
Yeah,
there's a lot to tackle. So one thing at a time.
Will you be tackling it for us, please?
Somebody has to. After more Mighty Bites.
More Mighty Bites. That's our happy note. All right, let's wrap up the show. We have a lot more. We have a Skype interview, and we have Josie Overmyer and David Seagull. First, and Jason Strong, the man behind the camera and behind the soundboard. Thank you very much, as always. And the scroll writer. The holy scroll writer. Thank you for bringing all of this in. This has been wonderful. It's been about education, food, and music. Perfect show. I really do appreciate it. Please come back with for the future as you're growing and as you're growing in the bag.
We can bring bags.
That's what I was going to suggest. Come on back and actually show us what this is, because I'm fascinated. This
come on out to our place sometime.
I would love to. Maybe we should do a show there too.
We could.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. You hear that, Jason? It's like, no, don't make me take all this equipment. No, I'm kidding.
We'll feed you.
He's great. No, we've done a couple of remotes.
Does anyone know CPR?
All right, enough of that. Let's get on to the next segments. Thank you very, very much, everybody. Hello, Fairfield. Welcome to the next segment of Fairfield 2.0, which has David Seagull and Josie Overmyer. And you might have seen these guys playing around town a little bit, like maybe at Cafe P and a couple of other places. There are going to be more performances. There are going to be more performances, right?
Yes.
And somewhat soon, too.
Yeah, the first one's coming up on April, I want to say the 25th. It's a Thursday. We're opening for a band at the Beauty Shop, a band from Portland. And then there's one at the end, towards the end of May, I believe it's the 18th or the 25th, which is a Saturday. And the St. Mary's Project in Fairfield is going to be doing some kind of outdoor festival type thing. So we'll do that, and then hopefully one at Cafe Paradiso.
Cool.
Beginning of June.
Nice. Yeah. You two have been playing together for a while now?
Yes.
For
a few years.
Years?
Has it been a few years?
Yes. I think so. Like 2 years. 2.5 years.
Wow.
Something like that.
Do you remember what brought you together? Was it just you guys had been maybe jamming a little bit before that?
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, I think it was actually David was playing a show at Cafe Paradiso. And somehow...
With Nate?
Yeah, he actually started playing with Nate Hedrick first, and then asked me to come along, and we
started playing, and then we noticed, we had some synergy or whatever, and just played, we noticed like she would play on some of my stuff, I'd play on hers, and then it just sort of evolved, and people liked it, and so we kept doing it, and still doing it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you find When you hear, is this part of the process and how this works? When Josie plays a song, are you listening to the song for? You're obviously listening to the song for adding arrangements to Josie's material. Josie, do you do the same thing with David's?
David kind of steers me in the right direction of what to do, because I'm not like as developed in my playing where I can just like hear something and come up with something, maybe a little bit, but he kind of comes up with an idea and helps me out, and then that's what, yeah.
Well, she's got really a great sense of rhythm and, very precise, just it's easy to kind of play with her because she's very consistent, and her vote, like when I have her sing with me, she just basically comes up with a great vocal part. I never have to, tell her what to do. It just, she just does it. It's like, wow, that was...
Yeah, with harmonies, I can kind of do that on my own because I've been singing for a really long time. But with the guitar parts, that's something that I'm kind of...
Yeah.
I haven't really...
I've heard you play on your own. I've heard you play with a lot of musicians. My favorite combination, I think, is honestly the two of you. You just have a feel for what each other is playing. It's like you can see that not only it's just about the arrangement, but the ear is going at the same time. And that's something I appreciate most about your playing together. It's the real nice synergy. Now, you have an album out there.
I do.
Shall we talk about...
Floating around.
Are you recording? Are you thinking of going into a new one?
I would like to, but I haven't really, thought about any specifics yet. But I do have new material, and I would definitely like to do another one.
Will this new material be played at all on the 25th or and beyond?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. A lot of the stuff that we've been playing recently has been the newer music.
Will some of that be in the next segment where you're playing some music?
Yes.
Nice, very nice. All right, thank you. So that kind of, I wanted to get an update, and I also want to throw one other thing out at you, which is I love the whenever you mention Josie Overmyer, two things come to mind in addition to you and your talent. It's one thing that comes is the love for your dad in town too, Joe. It's you're part of this beautiful musical dynasty, kind of, And also, whenever you mention Josie Overmyer, before you get Overmyer out of your mouth, people go, "Oh, she's so good." So
That's sweet. Thanks.
I want to say that. All right, so hang in there, Fairfield. You are going to see a few performances by David Seagull and Josie Overmyer in mere moments, and also a Skype interview. So hang in there. Take care. We have got Spencer Day. I guess you can call him a jazz artist, but he's jazz and so much more. And we're gonna explore a little of that here on Fairfield 2.0. And let's welcome him now. Hiya, Spencer, and welcome to Fairfield.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You have a new album, The Mystery of You. And I've gotten addicted to about 4 or 5 of the songs on here already, I must confess. Especially, I love, one of my favorite songs from here is I'm Going Home. And I know it's the last song. We probably should talk about that last. But my point is that this is it seems like a very personal album. But it also seems like you took some risks on here and experimented with stuff that perhaps you didn't on your previous album, Vagabond. Can you go into the process of what went into making this record?
Well, I think that there was a lot of happy accidents that happened as we were doing this. I end up pulling so much from whatever's around me. I think a lot of people do. I feel like, in a way, every record you do is going to be really incredibly personal and more telling about you than maybe you realize at the time. But I think in some ways we had some budgetary constraints at the beginning, and we had some changes in production, and then I ended up actually kind of taking the reins for the production too. So we had to be really creative about the way we did some things, because we were using some of the older tracks from the old session and then combining it with tracks from the new session. And there's some spots where, for example, we used a drum loop because we just didn't have access to a studio to use it. But then I actually really ended up liking the way it sounded. Yeah. We would have the organic instruments in there as well. And I really wanted to create a fusion where we could be paying homage to all this great music from the early 60s, but at the same time have it really sound like it was made in the year 2012, which it was.
Yeah, and one of the great things about it is that it does have that sort of, it's like surfy crime noir it's got a lot of those kind of things going on. Although your voice is the sort of like the grounding, it's the orienting element throughout the adventures that we have with these mysteries.
Oh, well, thanks. I'm kind of nuts for a baritone guitar. I always was. I think as a kid, I was really into any kind of music that was about escapism. I grew up in a really small town in Utah, and we pretty much all we could get access to were MGM musicals. So I think maybe I learned it from there. But I love the soundtrack to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And so even when I was a kid, I loved all this music that teleported me to another place. Anything that sounded really cinematic. And so I think that I always kind of come from that standpoint when I'm creating something. I still want to feel like I'm creating some kind of iconic other world, ideally.
Yeah. Now, let's go back. I want to go back to the last album just for a second, because Vagabond, the 2009 album, it had an interesting thing. Until You Come to Me was a hit for you. And also, the album itself kind of made more noise maybe than the previous couple of albums. And also you appeared on CBS's Star Search way back in 2002, that season rather. So will you do me a favor? Just catch us up as far as your history, because I think it's I think that would reveal a little more about the mysteries of the mystery of you.
Oh, sure. Well, so I grew up in Utah. My parents had a pretty rough marriage, and they split. And I lived with my grandparents and then with my mom, and finished high school in Arizona. And I was kind of torn between my family's all Mormon. I'm no longer Mormon, but I, very proud of the way I was brought up and a lot of the values of the church. But after high school, instead of going on my mission, I kind of opted for packing all my stuff in my car and moving to San Francisco, and then kind of bounced around very itinerantly for a little bit, taking odd jobs here, sleeping in my car for a night or two here or there, but eventually kind of pulling it together. And then I moved to Los Angeles and went to Los Angeles City College. It was the first place I took formal music lessons of any kind when I was about 19. And then I started. I went to college for about one semester to Cal Arts, and then I just kind of dropped out and started playing piano bars in retirement homes in Palm Springs. And I feel like that's really where I learned so much about the Great American Songbook and really fell in love with that. At the same time, when I was not doing these gigs, I was listening to Radiohead and Underworld and a lot of, electronica music.
Yeah.
And that kind of probably was how my whole schizophrenic approach to making music got started. Because I think from early on, I never thought anything of going from listening to The Doors or Led Zeppelin and then putting on Judy Garland and Carnegie Hall. It's like I never saw the problem. I was just like, it's all good music and they're all singing with soul, so who cares?
Yeah.
But I did that for a couple of years, and then I went back to San Francisco and played a couple dive bars there. I was actually working at a great little bar called the Lush Lounge, which, the name says it all. And the owner, Kenny, who's a really great guy, signed me up as a joke for Star Search when I was probably 22, maybe. And so I went to an audition thinking I'm very funny. I went in and gave a pretty good audition because I didn't think I would actually ever get on the show. And then I got on the show, and the judges never liked me because I don't do a lot of vocal acrobatics when I sing. But the home audiences kept voting me back on. And I kind of wanted to get off. If you won, you were signed into this mandatory recording contract with no creative control, blah, blah, blah. And so I fortunately lost. And I kind of went back to playing these dive bars in San Francisco as if nothing had changed. But all of a sudden, there was someone had started a fan club in the middle of the country in Iowa or something for me. And I don't know. It's been a very slow building career. I put out my first album, which was initially a demo, and then we released it independently and got some good press, and went on to play the Monterey Jazz Festival, and that's where Concord Records saw me, and then they signed me, and then I put out Vagabond, which I'd actually produced and raised the money for on my own, and then they bought it and decided to distribute it. And it's been a really slow and steady build, it's been great for me because it's given me time to really adjust to it and kind of overcome some of my own demons, which is a big part about what the record's about, and really be ready for whatever level of success is coming. And so it's been a long slog. It's been a lot of years of doing it, and a lot of doors slammed in my faces and a lot of no's. But it just keeps building, and the fans that we have are really devoted, and we're just getting really good feedback. So it's been really great. I've actually had the good fortune of getting to write more for some other artists and do some music row writing down in Nashville this upcoming year. So the musical schizophrenia continues.
And good luck with that. By the way, anybody joining us right now, this is Spencer Day, a new album, The Mystery of You, and we are learning about the mysteries of him right now. One of the great things about this record, in case anybody is curious about checking it out, is that there are so many musical homages going on, yet it seems like this is I'll speak to Spencer now. Hello, Spencer. It seems like there is a perfect, this was the perfect avenue to sort of frame maybe the lessons, or, sort of like navigating all that stuff that you've been going through personally. Because I know that behind the scenes, there were things like a romantic relationship that was painful when it fell apart, and things like that. And this music seems to have really captured, it's almost like the perfect vehicle for being able to describe what went on during the process. And I also noticed that you are fans of folks like Paul Simon and Joni Mitchell, so it wouldn't surprise me that writing from the personal, yet trying to be, more universal and relate to everybody through word in addition to music might be something you like to do.
Well, thank you very much for noticing. I really do feel like the most successful songs and the ones that really resonate the most are those ones that find that sweet spot between being incredibly personal and specific, and then at the same time speaking to some universal truth. So I think that's what all artists in some way are kind of, whether consciously or not, are trying to go for. And I love both of those people. I think that they're two of the primary examples of that. And for me, I really wanted to document my recovery from this breakup, because I really fell into a severe clinical depression, which I struggled with depression a lot of my life, and it kind of all came to a breaking point with this relationship. And as I was writing these songs, more out of catharsis and a need to do them than thinking about an album at that point, I started realizing that they were kind of all very specific phases of this relationship. And so that gave me the framework to start writing kind of from the back forward. I wrote the sad songs first and then the happier songs later, as I wanted to document all of these different stages of this relationship, and then really have it be a love letter to this time and place.
Yeah.
And I think from here on out, I pretty much will probably only write concept albums, even if the concept isn't apparent to other people. I think it just gives you a great framework and focus, and perhaps maybe because of my love of musicals and their storytelling, I just really love it as a way of inspiring me. It gives me a great focus, I guess.
Yeah. Nice way to put it. I wanted to get into a couple of the songs, too, to prove your point. For instance, things like, Soul on Fire. It seems to me that's that's an expression of sort of what was going on. Sort of with, the breakup and sort of what the results of that. The soul feels like it's on fire. You go through all these different phases, and a lot of it's anger, and a lot of it is just all the over questioning and all of that, huh?
Oh, well, it was wild and passionate and completely unsustainable.
Yeah.
So that song was kind of about that head over heels, level when you realize you're already in too deep.
Yeah, and then Love and War, of course, sort of like you say, it's sort of become a concept album at this point, and Love and War setting that up really, it kind of shows the journey of that relationship.
That was the goal, and I mean they all kind of fell into place. I think once again, I don't want to impose my view of what all the songs are supposed to mean onto the listener, because I'd really like everyone to kind of be able to come to their own conclusion. But hopefully the heart of it and the spirit of it comes across.
Yeah. All right, and then I did want to get to I'm Going Home. It's such a beautiful way to end the album because it's got this. It's a resolution. It seems like you're going home to even in a bigger picture. You're going home to you feel like you've worked what you needed to work out through the record, and now you're going home.
That's exactly it. And I think home, of course, being a place inside yourself. I have nothing but gratitude for every tear I shed and for all the joy that this relationship and this time brought me. And as painful as it was, and it's really been one of the most painful things in my adult life I've gone through, it's been the most positive character building experience I could have had overall. And so really, I wanted to leave the record with a profound sense of gratitude and say thanks, and then turn my eyes to the road ahead and to look forward to whatever that may be that's coming down the road.
Nice, beautifully said. By the way, anybody joining us, we're talking with Spencer Day, new album, The Mystery of You. And before that, he had a pretty darn good album, too, with Vagabond. I really, really like that record, too. I was wondering, okay, how's he going to top this one? And I don't want to say you did, but in my opinion, let's just say I've been listening to this latest one a little more than I listened to Vagabond.
Well, for me, I think, if there's nothing else to look forward to in life, there's growth. And that's the biggest compliment you can get. Is I just want to feel like my songwriting and my skills as a musician continue to grow for the rest of my life, hopefully. And so that's a great compliment. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And I have a traditional question I'm going to throw out at you. And I've added yet another traditional question to this. So the first one is, what advice do you have for new artists?
Oh, that is a great and difficult question. Let me just think for a second. I suppose the primary thing I'd like to tell any new artist that I meet is, it might sound cliche, but it's really to stay true to what you want to do and to check in with yourself to make sure that you're living your life authentically. And to do a lot of self-examination. I think therapy or working on your own psychology is incredibly important for everyone, but especially artists, because after doing this for 10, 12 years professionally, I think you really realize how many people will want to pull you in different directions and how the ego can get in the way of you making the best art possible. So I suppose, the advice I'd want to give is to check in with yourself regularly to make sure that you're expressing yourself in an honest and true fashion and not writing or performing for other people, because it's so easy to do and it looks really grim out there, especially, I'm not a sure bet in the eyes of the mainstream industry what I'm doing, but most of the things that have any lasting success and really touch people are because they come from a dangerous and authentic place that is not diluted by trying to fit into the confines of what we think the industry wants.
Nice, nicely said. I have my other question is, what's the best advice that you've ever been given?
Oh, probably about the same. When I was signed to a major label record deal, a development deal, which is basically artist purgatory, I had a great singer-songwriter hired to be my performance coach. And this record label would say really vague things like, "We need you to be a star. Just be a star. Don't joke. Don't." I'm very goofy when I perform live, and I tell a lot of jokes, and I'm very off the cuff. And I think they wanted me to be very slick and polished, and I think maybe more like Michael Bublé or something. And she came in, and her job was to help kind of whip me into shape. And the first thing she said to me is, screw them. Whatever these people who are telling you what to do, nobody knows what you want and what you need to do like you do. She's like, the first lesson here is to ignore everything they're telling you and to check in with yourself and do what feels right to you.
Beautiful.
And it really, I had to learn it the hard way. I think I spent a lot of years writing songs and singing just to try to impress other people or do what I thought other people wanted me to do. And I think that's been the profound change, is when you really inhabit who you are and own who you are, and check in with what it is you want to do to make the world a better place. I think that's really changed my art too, is I think she really inspired me that in some small way I could be a part of making the world a better place. And that changes everything, because then you're not concerned about, oh, was I pitchy, or did they like me, or you know, all these other kind of concerns that we become wrapped up in. Just know that you're putting something beautiful out into the world, and you're being a part of the solution and not the problem. And that in and of itself will inspire you for the rest of your life.
You've just inspired me, Spencer. I'm totally impressed by your answers here. By the way, you probably can't answer this question, but who was that coach you had there for a while?
Oh, I can definitely answer it. She's a fantastic singer-songwriter based out of Chicago. Her name is Susan Warner.
Susan Warner. Oh, she plays banjo, guitar, piano. She's a killer singer-songwriter, and I would love to give a shout out to her, because I was in a really down place because this record label ended up dropping me, and basically all but told me, you're just not that good. You don't have what it takes. And she, even though she was hired by them, basically stood by me, as a lot of people did, and just encouraged me to keep believing in myself. And what I really had to do was get out of my own way, you know, because everyone's going to tell you no, and you know, putting yourself out in any public sphere, you have to be prepared for a lot of people to criticize you. And, you know, the haters, there's a lot of people out there who just want to say cool things because they can. And a lot of times on the internet, you know, they can say it anonymously too. And if you're not your biggest cheerleader, who's going to be? You know, you really have to take care of yourself. And I think she said that to me at a time when I really needed to hear it, because I was ready to throw in the towel. How old, Spencer? How old were you?
How old was I when she told me that?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I would think like 24, 25 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like if you can get through, I don't know how anybody does it. I don't know how anybody gets through the years 17 through about 25 or 6. That has to.
25 is a rough one.
That's like, if you can make it past that number, if anyone on the earth can make it past that number, you've done it. You've done them, probably your biggest hurdle you've ever had to get past in your life.
I agree, and you know, the 30s so far, to me, there's this incredible sense of knowing myself and knowing what your strengths are and knowing the areas you need to improve. And in this way, I'm incredibly humbled now. But 25 is a year of hard knocks. You know, the ego got knocked down a lot of times on the totem pole that year.
Yeah, and that's sort of the time when you really start discovering who you, like you said, you're in your 30s and you really have a better feel of who you are. But about 25 is where it's like it's almost like getting smacked by life, and it's like, hello, good morning. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm, you know, whoever you are. You feel like I'm not a kid anymore, but I should be an adult and I should have it all together. And then, you know, you don't necessarily always have it together. Some people do, and you know, God bless those people who have it all figured out at 25. Yeah,
I was not one of them.
No, neither was I. I also have to throw out, Spencer, that Susan Warner is not unfamiliar to Fairfield. We're big fans of hers out here also.
Oh yeah, I know she's played there a lot. Actually, I think I might have even toured through with her one time years ago when I was signed to Universal.
Wow, so you came through Fairfield.
I have. I'm trying to think. We spent the night in Fairfield, and I think we played at the Beakley Library in New Hartford. And then I think Susan did a show in Fairfield, and I think I opened up for. I'm really sorry, I can't remember where.
Right.
But I've certainly stopped. I opened for her. That's one of these incredibly gracious things she did. Is she was doing some dates, solo dates, and she let me sing 3 or 4 songs to open for her, just to introduce some people in the audience.
Right.
To my music, which was really great.
Nice. Well, you have to come through again and do your own show, man, because we have a place called the Sondheim Center over here that features acts. Also Cafe Paradiso. Anyway, all the local shout-outs aside, you are, of course, listening, everybody who's just jumped on board to Fairfield 2.0. You're listening to an interview with Spencer Day, new album called The Mystery of You. Spencer, I don't know what else to tell you other than really good luck. I've enjoyed this album immensely. I called your label to get an interview because I really enjoyed it that much. So.
Oh, Mike, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and it's been a total pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks, I appreciate it, and definitely let's stay in touch and come back again sometime, and we'll do it again.
Absolutely.
All right, all the best. Bye-bye, Spencer.
Bye. Thanks.
The song is Time the Revelator by Gillian Welch. This is Lover's Woe. This last song is called I Won't Give Up.